It's been 268 days since Wisconsin last took the field. 268 days of waiting, wondering, and questioning what this team will become. But the wait is finally over. The season is here, and it's time to put our predictions on the line. Who's going to be our MVP? Where will we end up in November? And most importantly, what do we think happens in every single game this year? Buckle up. It's game week. I'm Rajiv. He's Justin. Here we go.
Welcome to the Bucky Report, your destination for all things Wisconsin Badgers. Authentic takes.
Oh my God.
Game analysis.
Touchdown Badgers! Ring one up!
And discussion from the fan perspective.
Woo-hoo!
Thanks for joining us and on Wisconsin.
Welcome to the Bucky Report. We are your hosts, Rajiv and Justin, back together on a Sunday evening to talk about all things Wisconsin Badgers. On today's show, you can see I'm glowing, thinking it's game week already. On today's show, it's our season prediction special, one of our favorite episodes of the year. We'll go game by game through Wisconsin's schedule, debate how the Badgers stack up in the Big Ten, and give our takes on how this season could play out. We'll also give our picks for Big Ten and national champion. We're on the Bucky Report on the YouTube, on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Thank you for all the support of the show. We had some great comments about last week being our 150th episode. So thank you to everybody for that. Of course, as we said on the show, Mr. Ryan Herrings is joining us. Of course, the guy that helped us get started. So thank you. Justin, how's your weekend, man? It's game week. What's going on?
Well, minus my soccer team peeing away a great shot at a win, their first win of the season, and the Brewers having a forgettable weekend. Kansas won, so that was nice. And then we got to see Kansas fans who scored 1 point more than their average last year say how great it is that this new offense under their new offensive coordinator. So it was an interesting weekend. I
had the opposite. My soccer team won 2-0. I went to a Cubs game in Anaheim, so got to see the Cubs win last night, and I saw Dave Matthews for way more time than anybody else needs to see him because I see him a lot. Couple of programming notes. So again, going into the season, we talked about it last week. 3 big things will go every Wednesday with our prediction show. Of course, starting this Wednesday. Friday nights are going to be gambling stuff, right? Not regular lines, betting lines, because everyone was on me last week for saying lines. I do lines. But betting lines, we're going to do a full picks of the week show every Friday. Just be a quick short thing that I'll do. And then, of course, Saturdays, the only place to go for that, of course, our reaction shows, Locked On Badgers. We can't do Locked On Badgers without the man over here sitting on the right joining us for today's episode.
The Wisconsin Badgers podcast legend himself, the host of Locked On Badgers, the one, the only, Ryan Herrings.
So the funny thing about that is I play that. Ryan hates it, and I still play it because I just have to. Ryan, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for joining us, bud.
There's a lot more tension involved in that too. It's intense.
Yeah. So much. It's so much for me. Like, I appreciate it. It's always great to be here. Obviously, we talk all the time, but yeah, it feels like there's never should be a legend associated with my name whatsoever. So no, that's it. I can't wait. Let's do this.
We'll go with it. We'll take it. He's the legend. We'll call him that, even though he doesn't want to say it. It's game week, boys. The wait's finally over. We're actually going to have football to talk about. We're going to be on Locked On Thursday, going over and watching the first game. It's going to be awesome. We're going to do some prediction stuff. Let's break it all down. I'm going to start here, guys. Hype and fears. Justin, welcome to Ryan. We'll come to you first. What excites you the most heading into this season? We're going to talk about what excites you the most and what worries you the most. What excites you the most?
Man, I think it's the idea of this offense finally looking like what we had hoped it would originally be with Fickell, like this modernization of what we've done really well. I feel like we're moving in that direction with Billy Edwards, the young talent that's going to be here, somewhat Chris did, but a little bit more of a modern twist. I'm really excited to see this offense. I'm excited to see the pieces, competent quarterback play, running backs we believe in, a scheme that makes sense, all molded together. It's been past the Fickell era, going back to the last several years of Paul Chris. We haven't had an offense that made sense. I'm excited to see that potentially.
Yeah, for me, it's about returning to some a little bit more identity, like as all of us did, I think we wore blinders as to what really could happen when you start changing the offensive identity of a team. We believed in how amazing our offense could have been under Phil Longo. And then several of my friends who are not Badger fans would say, you guys just lost your identity. And then you go away from your identity, look what happens. And we need to reset a little bit. So that's what I'm most looking forward to. Like very similar, just a little bit of power football that scares people, because our running game used to scare people and it didn't recently. So that's definitely what needs to happen.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to most people being surprised by realizing that this isn't a Paul Chryst type offense. It is more balanced than we were in our time with him as head coach. The splits, quite honestly, if you look at it from yardage, typically lean more towards passing yards, and it's not necessarily super close. Kansas is typically somewhere in that like 22 to 24 range rushing, typically around 3,000 passing, which is on the high end for Wisconsin. And that's fairly consistent with Grimes. Now, I don't know if we're not getting to 3,000, but I think 2,800 is in play here, what was the last time we did that under Cohn? I guess we might have done it year one under Longo, but the rushing attack, like offensively, we were so scattered and ineffective that despite the fact we had the yardage, it really didn't look like it. And then for me, honestly, it's the young guys. Like we've seen 2 recruiting classes come in. We've been begging to see the talent hit the field and prove that these guys are what we thought they were in the recruiting rankings. And now we're going to get to see a bunch of them.
You just want to see Nick Clayton. Let's be honest. That's what you're waiting for.
No, I'm really looking forward to both running backs, to be quite honestly. I think Jones is going to have a big day on Thursday.
And conversely, Justin, what worries you the most? What's your biggest fear heading into the season?
Number one, that the defense does not look as effective and aggressive as we're hoping for. This is a game that has to stand out. Like they need to be able to rush the passer and just get negative plays in this game. If we're not getting negative plays in this, I'm going to be very uncomfortable heading into any game of consequence in this season.
So for me, like I have one fear, and my fear is that at the end of the season, I'm going to want Luke Fickell to not be our coach. That's my fear. That's the thing that worries me the most. Like I don't want this experiment to end. I don't think it's going to at the end and this year anyway. But I don't want that. Like I want to be able to be proud of what we're doing and growing and moving in the right direction and changing our identity and getting back to being a high floor team. And if we're not that, and we see something that we really don't like, and we're going to talk about at the very end of the show what success looks like. I mean, that's my biggest fear. If I come on this show and your show, Ryan, and say, I want Luke Fickell gone, that's what worries me the most.
Yeah, that would stink. Like, thank you, Captain Obvious, Ryan. Yeah, that would stink. I think, my biggest fear I've talked about a lot, so I'm not going to belabor that, is offensive line depth. I think that's a massive question. But I'm going to go somewhere else because we've talked about that a lot. I think my biggest fear is that Grimes doesn't work out, which I think would lead to what you're talking about, Rajiv, is that if you whiff on a second offensive coordinator for whatever reason, and I think there's ways it might not be as pretty as we think. I think there could be a learning curve. I think the offensive line depth could factor into it. I think maybe a lack of proven options at receiver. We're doing a lot of projecting at receiver. Rajiv, you and I just did a show on that. Mm-hmm. What if some of those guys don't project into what we think they're going to be this year? I think my biggest concern is this offense that we're all kind of excited about doesn't look as smooth, doesn't look as successful. Maybe Billy Edwards isn't as good as we hope he is. And then you come into this offseason, because the biggest thing we changed this offseason, the biggest reason for optimism is it was all Longo's fault, right? It was all Phil Longo. Well, if Grimes doesn't make this noticeably better, then I think we have real concerns.
Can I ask you, Ryan, how confident are you that we're actually going to do that? Like, if you had to put a percentage on whether, like, the Grimes offense works, however you want to define that, like, is it going to work here? How confident are you in that?
By the way, really quick, can I just say, like, I'm discombobulated being on a different part of the screen that I'm used to. Like, I don't know where to put my eyes. It's very disconcerting to me. I feel like a guy who's been a taxi driver his whole life, and now I'm in the back seat, and I'm trying to still.
You just moved to England?
No, put me wherever. No, I'm good.
Ryan moved to England. He's on the other side of the road now, and he's afraid that he's going to start cause a
I'm like looking at my camera, but it's very disconcerting. And my AI camera just turned on, so now it's going to track me, which is also weird. I think like 75%. I think it's fair to point out that this was considered maybe not a home run hire by some people. I like Grimes. I think it's going to work. I don't think it's like 90%, 100% is going to work. I think it's a legitimate question. He has left a couple places where fan bases haven't been in love with him. I think that's a fair point. I think it's going to work. I like it. I want to see it, but I don't think it's like 90% to 100.
I don't think it's that. I look at it as probably 80, 85, and I'll say it is because number one, I think where this is viewed as a home run hire depends on what your fan base is looking for and what they're comfortable with. He fits Wisconsin, which is why it's a better fit than most colleges in the country. Number two, like I can't take anything from Kansas after watching the game, because I watched the game yesterday and I'm like, this is the same offense. They're playing exactly the same type of plays we're going to be running tomorrow on Thursday. When I was watching the game, and I'm like, and they're sitting there talking about how much better this offense is. And I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like the difference between last year and this year is Jalen Daniels didn't throw the ball to the other team 3 times. It's not hard. If your quarterback plays poor, you're going to think the offense stinks. That's every team in the country.
Get some comments in here. Bill Woj, good friend of the show. Biggest fears, can't stop the run. I mean, yeah, that's certainly we talked about that a lot. Brian Access, biggest concern is depth. Think some of the transfers are new. Could step up, but not sure what is behind guys like Reiger or the offensive line. And Bryce Ratajski, sorry if I'm butchering your name, Bryce. Biggest fear is not being able to pressure the opposing quarterback. I think that will determine if we win more than 6 games. Yeah, certainly all of those things extremely important and can lead to the record being either good or being bad, which is exactly what we're going to talk about next, guys. Let's do some predictions here.
Let's throw one more up here from Bill Woj before we move past.
Of course.
Are you guys more excited by Grimes now or Longo in spring of 23?
I fell for Longo. I think it was the concept. I think the thing with Longo is we thought he would bring in elite quarterback play because of what we saw at other stops. So it's a great question by Bill, but I would say probably Longo, to be completely honest.
I think this is the interesting way I look at it is I think we had higher hopes for Longo, but I think we understand Grimes better. So like we have a better understanding of what this is and can see how it will work as opposed to Longo where it was just like more blind faith, I think.
I'm excited for very different reasons. Like I was so excited for Phil Longo because I thought he was going to revolutionize this program and turn it into the next Clemson, which I've said multiple times on air on multiple shows. And it can still happen. Not Phil Longo, but I'm excited this time because I'm excited to get back like some just normalcy. And it's like the pain of being where we have been is so bad that I'm desperate to get out of it. So that's why I would say I'm more excited for this, but you can kind of see it both ways.
Yeah. I think the last thing on this before we move on to what we actually want to accomplish. I think the biggest takeaway I had from the Longo experience was I don't think he truly wanted to run the football. I think he viewed it as a means to set up the throw game, and that was pretty much it. And that's not how Grimes works. Like they're very much a hand-in-hand type thing, but he probably leans run in terms of basing everything off of that. And a lot of the misdirection and type of deception that he uses is the running game to set up the passing game with the play action and stuff like that, which he very much is married to the run game.
Yeah, definitely. All right, boys, we're going to do some predictions. I'm going to go through the schedule. Can I assume that I can put W's across the board for Miami of Ohio and Middle Tennessee State? Because obviously we've got problems, but we know that's what's likely going to be the result. But Ryan, what do you need to see for Miami? Like, what are you like? We're all going to put W's here, but what's a real W for you?
Back when Wisconsin used to just bully out of conference teams, you remember when we would win like 47-3? I remember having a conversation with my buddy who was an NFL fan. And he wasn't a college fan. He said, "Why do you enjoy watching this?" And I said, "I don't know. I feel like a Roman who probably enjoys watching their armies roll over barbaric tribes. Like there's just something that's really fun about watching your team bully somebody." So what do I want to see? I want to see 48-3, 37-10. Like I want to see domination on both sides of the trenches, the ability to run the ball, an idea of what we're doing offensively. I want to see us hit some field goals. I just want to see a complete dominant effort. And I don't think that's too much to ask against Miami of Ohio. I understand Finn is going to potentially give us some issues, maybe not. but we should overwhelm this team with the depth we have in the trenches on both sides with our running game. I want to see a couple deep shots, and I want to see domination at the line of scrimmage.
It's two games where we absolutely.
I couldn't said it better. That's exactly how I feel about it. I want to see a competent.
I think we lost Justin a little bit. Can you guys hear Justin?
Us to pass the ball effectively and to run the ball really, really well in this game.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be 2 games of domination. We got to do it. We have to win. And I would love to be able to come on your show on Thursday, Ryan, and not. I've thought about this. I just want to come on and be like, yes. I don't want to come on and be like, well, we got the W, but I don't want that. We've been saying that a lot whenever we do get wins, and that'll be bad. All right, Justin, Alabama. Tell me what the pick is.
I mean, it's going to be a loss. I hate to say it, but it's going to be a loss.
Ryan, you agree, obviously.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I think we can be competitive in that game, but it's probably going to be a loss.
I mean, I would love to be able to believe that this can be one of those games. And honestly, like given our new offense, if it was in Madison this year, I probably would be picking as a W just because. But because I still don't think Kalen DeBoer is where, that has that program where it was before. But yeah, we're losing this game. Sorry. I hope there's believers out there. And if there is, Jonathan Hess says W. Hey, listen, someone else in the chat put their whole schedule out there, and I wish I can actually find it right here. Downstream Creations sent this out before the game, which is great. Alabama as a win, and then the only other win after that is against Washington. So I mean, it's that would be quite the 5-7 right there.
I just don't understand people that make predictions like that, where it's like, oh, you're going to take down a top 5 team, but then you're going to beat some of these more flawed teams.
Anything can happen, man. Anything can happen. Anything can happen. Ryan, you got to win for Maryland. We have to win this, right? We have 3-1 is an absolute must, is it not?
So Maryland is vitally important. That is an enormously important game because if you drop that one, you go into that bye, you're going to be full of doubt. But yes, that's a win. Billy Edwards is not going to lose to Maryland.
He was the best part of that team.
Yeah.
And he left.
I mean, you look at this now, hey, we're 3-1. Anything. We can still go to the playoffs if after 4 weeks we look like this, and we should look like this. The question is, now it goes into the second. So we got the line there, the bye week happens. That's really when the season kicks off and it goes the right direction. Ryan, where are you going for Michigan? First Big Ten road game of the year. Underwood at quarterback. Their fans feel like their weaponry is plentiful for Underwood. They've got a strong front seven, stronger than maybe it even was last year. A lot of hype around that program. They just had some sanctions. They pretty much got nothing really. But it's on the road. Ryan, where are you at for this one?
Yeah, this is a tough one. I think Michigan beats us for a couple reasons. I really like the running backs that they have. You have Hayes in there. A lot of talk about how much better Wisconsin should be at quarterback this year. Michigan was terrible. They had Alex Orji last year. Underwood, green or not, is probably going to be better than Alex Orji was last year. And they return a lot of pieces on defense. You mentioned the front seven, but their secondary is pretty veteran as well. So I just think it's a tough spot. I think Michigan beats us.
This one's a really interesting one to me. I struggle with it because, quite honestly, there is a chance. Like, I don't think their weapons scare you. I think really Michigan's going to have to lean on their run game against us in that game. And if our defensive line is better, we could maybe make that complicated for them. Really, what it's probably going to come down to is, can we run the football in that game? Man, I'm going to say this is a loss probably. Simply because I think we're going to struggle to be consistently running the football in that game.
You wanted to pick a win. And I want to remind everybody that last year on this exact same show, Justin actually had the highest record. He had 9-3 last year. And then Ryan and I had 7-5 as our records. Me might have had 8-4. But anyway, I want to believe this too. And I absolutely think that there are winnable games on this schedule. Going to Ann Arbor is tough. And whether Bryce Underwood is good or not good, I mean, their team beat teams last year with nothing but a defense. They're going to be better. Their defense is really good. It's going to be hard to win up there. Are we going to be in that game? Absolutely. Are we going to be in that game going into the fourth quarter? I think so. But I just don't see us actually getting the W.
Here's the question, though. Are they going to be better? It's possible they're the same.
They reload,
It's possible the defense gets a little bit worse and the offense gets a little bit better. And they're basically the same thing that they were, where they have some games where they show up better than they probably should against good teams and worse than they should against some of the bad teams.
Do you think there's a thing for them too, where they want to just like shut everybody up about it? Like, we don't need to cheat to win. Where like, I feel like they're going to be pretty motivated to play well this year. But
possibly. I do question their weapons. Like, I really think that offensively, regardless of if Underwood is good or not, if your receivers can't get open and you don't have anybody to catch the football, you're going to really have to have a great running game to be able to get away with it.
I think you're going to see a very similar season to what we saw with Raiola last year. And someone put that as Underwood much better than Raiola. I mean, I think he is probably on as far as ceiling, but I don't think he's going to have a great year, but it's not, they still have so many.
That could be statistically, he could be very similar to that.
Right.
But there's also a chance, really quick, there's a chance that Underwood is good too. Like there's a chance if he hits to some degree, again, going from Alex Orji to decent quarterback play changes that entire team. So it's tough, man. And if Underwood hits, that might be a top 5 team in the country, to be completely honest.
The margins of quarterback play are so thin, and you're exactly right. Like, remember, what record would we have had last year? Oregon, USC, Penn State, to name 3 games that we easily could have won with a better quarterback play, right? I mean, just think about that. And that was with our team last year. I'm going to start with Iowa. Yeah, listen, I mean, 42-10 last year, kicked in the teeth. They're coming home. I think this is the game that Badgers, like that Luke Fickell coaches have probably been talking about. Like, I think this is that game that everybody circled in that locker room to be like, all right, you want to go back to Wisconsin football? You want to prove that we can be strong and that we can do what we need to do? This is one of those games. This, to me, is one of the season-defining games. We talk about like what success means. This is included in my success formula. Like, I need to see us beat Iowa. I need us to get a trophy back, and I need to see us get some redemption in that series. Ryan, where are you at with this one?
So 42, the number of push-ups the team has been doing because of this game, which I love. I mean, someone else mentioned to me, I don't know if I love that. I don't know if I love putting out bulletin board stuff. I love it. Be ticked off that Iowa hung 42 on you. And the fact that they are makes me think that this is going to be a win. Because if this isn't a win, when they base a lot of their offseason on 42 push-ups, we got embarrassed. Jake Renfro talked about it when I talked to him. He said, well, I asked him, what game are you excited? He said Iowa before I could finish the sentence. This game means a ton to this program. It's going to be at home. I think they get this win because I don't know if Iowa adequately replaced the pieces they lost on defense, and they lost, obviously, Johnson at running back. I think they beat Iowa. I think they get that 2-game home stretch off on a good foot.
Justin.
Yeah, it's a win for me too. I just look at this game and I will be the first time we see an Iowa receiver that is a good receiver. It will be the first time. I think that they lost quite a bit in having a stud running back that was an All-American leave. You really like if the level that this offense will drop if you go from having a very good to solid running back is extreme. And I think Gronowski will probably help them a little bit. I do think he can be a solid quarterback for them. I just don't think that they have enough pieces in terms of offensive skill positions to be able to really hurt anybody too badly. And I think the defense will be good for them, but I think it will be more gettable than we've seen in the last few years.
Ryan, I talked to your colleague Trent from Locked On Hawkeyes. That dude, he knows his shit, man. He's very confident, and I understand why. They have been a quarterback away for as long as I can remember. And now they have a guy I'm not saying he's going to be great, but he is going to be better. And it's the other parts of the team and Justin, I'm not saying that you're wrong. I think that they did lose some pieces, but I think they reloaded to their system too. I think this is going to be a difficult game. I still pick it as a win. I think it's going to be an absolute fight in Camp Randall. And I think the edge is going to be our motivation factor, but yeah, this game it's not going to be easy for sure. There was a comment up here that I wanted to, oh yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say what worries me about really quick. Okay. Yeah, actually, Brian, that's perfect. That's what I was actually going to hit on. I didn't see your comment. It's amazing. With all the emphasis in the offseason on this game at home with what's coming up, I am worried if we drop this game.
Oh, absolutely. I've said all along this season that if we lose the 4 in the middle here, this season could just be done. Like, this team could mentally be checked out by the time we hit Washington. And that was my big fear for if the way you see this season to spiral is you lose the 4 games in the middle and the team is quit by the time you hit Washington and your schedule finally lets up a little bit.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Like, I think most Badger fans and all of us are really here. Like, going into that game, I think most people would agree you're going to be 3-2, and losing at Michigan is not going to be a surprise. Losing against Iowa, it's also not going to be like a kick to the ego, depending on how you lose. But this could be bad. I would still like to think that even if we lose this game, we can salvage something. I do agree you're going to need to win one of these 4 and to have a decent record. Justin, we'll start with you on Ohio State. Any chance of an upset here?
I think there's a chance of an upset, but I'm not. I would say that I'm expecting to lose this game, but I do think that Wisconsin can be competitive in this game, and it being a home game, there is a chance. Like, we've seen Iowa come in there and struggle. It wouldn't shock me. You have a young quarterback. If the defense actually shows that it's got some teeth this year, potentially we could rattle them a little bit. It's going to be a great crowd, I would assume, for that game. So there's a chance you could kind of, if things go right and you have some big plays break, you have an opportunity. People forget that defense has completely been rebuilt too. Like, they lost a ton of talent on it. They have a new defensive coordinator. We really don't know what to expect on that side of the ball from Ohio State. Like, will they be as good as they were? Will they take a step back? Will they be a train wreck because it's a different system and guys just aren't locked in mentally as much as they were after being in the same system for several years?
We were at that game, the 3 of us, a couple years ago, Ohio State at Wisconsin. And I said then, and I'll say now, let's just be in the game when jump around hits and see what happens. And I think there's no reason to believe that we can't be in that game in the 4th quarter. So anything can happen here. I'm chalking it up to an L. I think the first 8 games, a lot of fans are going to have very similar predictions. It's the last 4 that I think are going to be the interesting ones to discuss. But yeah, I want to believe that we can beat Ohio State. It's going to be really tough, and boy, it'll be special if it happens. Ryan, any optimism here for you on this one?
I wish we got Ohio State earlier. I think Justin made a very salient point. They're replacing a lot, not just the defense coordinator, but also the offensive coordinator. They're replacing quarterback. Several pieces on the offensive line. I think like 9 starters on defense, or at least 9 guys in that 2 deep on defense. But ultimately, they have Caleb Downs and Jeremiah Smith. They have probably the best player on both sides of the ball in the Big Ten. And they
there's
finished
cheat codes on that roster.
Yeah, and they finished first or second in passing in the Big Ten in efficiency in the last 10 years, every year, first or second. So they just tend to figure it out. I think if we got them earlier at home, week 2 or 3, I would feel really spicy. By this point, Ohio State has probably figured it out. So sadly, that's an L.
I mean, moving on to Oregon, I'm going to be at this game. Ryan might be at this game. I feel like this is one of those where I think Oregon's a little upset after last year. Like, that was a game. People still talk about that game. We absolutely should have beaten them. And Oregon's going to be a little peeved. They're loaded all over the map. I don't see it. I feel like I'm not going to be alone in this one. I want to see it, but I don't see it. It's going to be 3 out of the 4 that we're going to lose in this stretch. Justin, anything different?
Yeah, I'm going to take a loss on this one too. Honestly, everything I've heard, it's one of the hardest places to play in the country. It's when you see the records for how loud stadiums get, that stadium is near the top. So they'll bring a salty crowd that's going to make it extremely difficult. If we can get on that team and get ahead early, maybe we have an opportunity to take the crowd out of it a little bit. But if we let them hang around or get the lead right away early in that game, it's going to be a really hard game.
Yeah. Right. I don't know what I will say this. Oregon is replacing 4 or 5 of their offensive linemen. The guy that got coming back is an all-conference type guy, but they're replacing 4 or 5. They lost Tez Johnson last year and Evan Stewart. Really, their lone returning receiver is gone for the year. They're very good defensively. They're about 8 deep on the D-line with blue chippers. Offensively, that thing could be tricky. I don't think their receivers are as good as they've been in the last year, and they're replacing 80% of their offensive line. I think that game's going to be closer than people think.
You're replacing a Heisman-level quarterback, too.
And a Heisman-level quarterback. Now, I trust Lanning to figure it out on offense and at quarterback, but they replace a lot around him that I think is getting glossed over a little bit. That's a tough spot. I think Wisconsin's going to be closer in that game than people think.
Yeah, listen, I think that all 4 of these games in the middle, by the way, if Wisconsin's in all of them, I'm not surprised. Like I do want to be clear on that. This is my legitimate prediction here. I think we're going to lose 3 of those 4 games, but I mean, we absolutely can win at Michigan. A home game you can always win, and at Oregon, like they're always going to slip up at some point through the season. I mean, we can win all these. I do want to be in them and be competitive in them, which is definitely the case. Ryan, Washington. A lot of people were talking about this team as a potential dark horse in the conference. Early in the season, early in the summer, it was like, oh, that's going to be one of those easier wins. Probably needs to be a win. Where are you at on Washington? Do you feel like this team is actually a lot better? And do you think we get the W here?
Washington's kind of terrifying to me. I'm going to be completely honest. I think Devin Williams is potentially really good. Jonah Coleman at running back is one of the better running backs in the conference. He's kind of a bowling ball that I wonder, and one of the questions I had about our team coming out of Platteville is the interior rush defense. Jonah Coleman's going to test that. We're going to be coming off 3-4 really physical games. I know we get a bye there, but we could be pretty beaten up at that point. There is a potential that we're pretty beaten up at this point in the season with just the kind of the body blow theory. Dude, I hate this game. I had this as a win earlier in the year. I think Washington trips us up. I think Washington is actually better than we've given them credit for. I like the quarterback situation. I like their offensive skill. And I think this is a spot where we're maybe beaten up. Give me the L on Washington, sadly. I would love to be wrong, by the way. I would love to be wrong. Nothing would make me happier. I promise.
Yeah. I'm going W on this one. Number one, until Washington figures out how to go on the road in the Big Ten and win, I'm not giving them too much credit. I think this is a game you have to go back out and establish it, and you're going to be playing against a defense that's probably the most gettable defense that we've seen since, early in the season. I think we'll be able to run the football. I do actually think we will be able to run the football the bulk of this season. So I think there will be confidence in this offense coming into this game. And if they get rolling, I think there's a very good chance that you just flat out physical them in this game.
Daltrey says, Justin is a smart man. This comment from Nick, I think, really sums it up for a lot of Badger fans. It's a good comment. Washington is the most underrated team on our schedule. People want it to be a win because they need it to be a win. Nick, this is a great point. I mean,
they weren't good last year. Like, I think it's fair to question it.
They did get better. Look, by the way, I'm with you. I think it's a W. And honestly, I'm kind of fighting what Nick is saying because I think I do need it to be a win too. I do think we do. I think, look, they had a horrible record they win it all on the road last year. I mean, they have a lot of issues, but we are coming off a bye. We're coming off a very difficult stretch of the schedule where I'm hoping that, when you get to this point, like Badger fans, Badger players, that last 4 is a very much like, this is now the difference between bowls or no bowl, right? This is really where that line hits where your season, if you, like you guys mentioned, spiral potentially earlier. This is one of those games that's super important, like the Iowa game. You got to win some of these games at home. I do believe I'm not 100% going to say I'm not saying what Nick is. Like, I hear that. I think that is affecting my take on this and that I need it to be a win. So very good comment, but it's going to be a W for me. There you go. D.A. Wolf, believe with Rajiv, it's a W. Yeah, let's hope it is. All right, Indiana. Justin, what's your take on going Indiana? Obviously, there's no team in the Big Ten I hate more right now than this program for many reasons. Don't what's that? I'm playing Virginia, but anyway, Justin, where are you at on this one?
I'm actually thinking that this one's going to be a win, and I say this because I think it comes down to the trenches, and that's an area that they really struggled last year. I need to believe that they got better in there before I'm willing to give it to them, but they really struggled to run the football against anybody that was able to get physical with them. And if you can make them one-dimensional, and I actually think the strength of our defense is probably going to be our secondary, this is probably a game that we're going to make, them really have to work at throwing the football. If we can do that and just make them one-dimensional, this might be a game that we can sneak away with.
This is the hardest decision that I had to make when I looked at this, and I'm being 100% honest with my take here. I hate saying this. I hate saying it because I hate this program right now. I absolutely hate Indiana right now. But I just think at the end of the day, Signetti and that NIL fund has been able to do better than what I would have liked them to do. I don't think and this game can be very close. I think we absolutely can win this game. But if I'm being truly honest about my predictions for the year, Indiana's going to be a loss. I hate to say that. Mendoza's really good. Ryan, I think I know where you're going on this one. Where are you going?
Yeah, not so fast, my friend. Put the green W in there.
What?
Wisconsin breaks that 3-game losing streak. Here's the thing. I actually think Indiana. I think this is whiplashed a little too quickly. Indiana one good year, suddenly they're going to go 10-2 again, and Wisconsin one bad year, and we're not going to be able to beat anybody. That's a coin flip. I like Cignetti. I think he's arrogant, but I think you have to be kind of arrogant to go to a place like Indiana and build them up. But I think losing Curtis Rourke is a big deal. Mendoza may be a better quarterback. I think Rourke was an incredible leader for that team. He played on a torn ACL.
CJ West, too.
Also losing CJ West in the interior of the defensive line, and they were already not great in the trenches. I think we beat Indiana. I think they are a bit of a fraud, and I think Wisconsin's going to bully them a little bit and get a huge win on the road.
I'm so happy about this because I so hope the two of you are right. I stand by my pick for now, and I'm sorry, Daltrey. I see your comment, but look, I just feel like we're going to lose that game, but I love hearing that they're a fraud. I love this. And if that actually happens, no one will be happier than me going down to Bloomington and getting that win, because you're right. It's 1 year. It's just 1 year.
Just 1 year.
Brett Bielema returns to Madison for another game. This is going to be a really spicy one, I think. Illinois is the sexy pick this year. They're the new Indiana. Many prognosticators have had this team popping into the playoff. I like Luke Altmaier. I really do. I've said that multiple times. I think Illinois is good, but they're not good enough to come to Madison when this team needs these wins. I'm telling you, this last four is a heavy motivation game. And I think Illinois is another one of those games that they're going to kind of circle. They know what this means. They know where people's heads are right now with Illinois, and everybody's talking about them. And who knows what state they're going to be in at this point in the season. I like us winning this game at home. I think Camp Randall gets it done in the last home game of the season. Senior night, Billy Edwards last game, a lot of guys last game. We're going to beat Illinois. Ryan, where are you at on this?
Agreed. I think we take care of Illinois. I'm not as high on Altmaier, I think, as you are. I think he's been around for a while, but I don't think he's really that impactful as a quarterback. He's kind of stationary. He's fine. He's totally fine. But I think our secondary pass rush is going to help us in that game. I'm just not fully sold on the weapons they have around them. They have to replace some pieces there. And, their defense line is going to be relying on some guys that we quite frankly know they're fine, right? Some Wisconsin imports heading over there. I think Wisconsin is in a position to take care of Illinois at home. Last home game, I think they beat Bielema.
Yeah, it's a win for me too. And a lot of it is heavily dependent upon the fact that I just don't think their defense is going to be good. I think the defensive line with the guys they're getting from us, if you're hanging your hat on them being able to stop a quality run team, if you look at the game against Kansas last year, they just kind of got trucked, and that was with a team that was a good team last year, or a good defense. They had multiple games. I know they won 10 games last year. There were multiple games that they probably should have lost. Purdue being one of them. A game that Purdue was in control for most of the game until they got to overtime and finally blew it. But they had 2 or 3 games that they could easily have lost last year that would have really changed how people viewed them coming into the season. And they lost some big pieces. They lost 2 NFL wide receivers. They lost some defensive line pieces that really hurt them in terms of their depth. And I don't think they replaced it with anyone that you look at and say, this is going to make them better in the trenches. I actually think they got worse.
If Sonny Verma, host of Locked On Illini, is watching this, he's not going to be happy with our W's across the board. He's probably laughing, but we're going to be the ones laughing, Sonny, after we...
The playoff thing is the most ridiculous thing I have seen in this offseason, and it's completely based off the fact that they had 10 wins last year, but they had 10 wins and some luck involved in there.
They did, and I don't know the Illinois schedule off the top of my head. I don't remember what it is, and I don't know how difficult it is.
It's pretty cake, actually. So they're plus 3,000.
That's the point for them having a good year.
Right.
Let me ask you guys this quick. I think it's interesting. And by the way, I hear you, Justin. It's a good point. Like, some of those games were a little tight. I think there is skill in winning tight games, though. I think that comes down to coaching. It comes down to having a decent quarterback, not turning the ball over, being able to hit clutch field goals, right? Those are the type of things that sometimes matter in close games, which we know has hurt us. Here's what I would throw out your way. If Illinois does it again, not beat us, but they win 9-10 games, whatever. Does Bielema jump ship? Does he pull another Wisconsin to Arkansas if another school comes calling?
I think if he's a smart man, he stays put and continues to try to build it, because I don't think that he's going to get I just don't think that you're going to get an SEC opportunity that's going to be a good situation. And I think he's kind of found something at Illinois. Continue to try to maximize what you can get out of it. And I think that that's a fan base that's going to be kind of happy with it. Like you can win 7 to 9 games every year there, and they're probably not going to get angry with you for that. You go to the SEC, they're not going to, no matter what fan base you're dealing with, unless it's Vanderbilt, they're not going to be happy with 7 to 9 wins. Why are we not getting 10?
I had someone the other day tell me that Brett Bielema was going to turn them into the new Wisconsin, to a new high floor team, and I laughed and I was like, I don't think so. Do I think he should stay? Do I think he should stay at Illinois? Yes, I think he should. Do I think he will? No. I think he will jump ship and he will try his hand again. I mean, this is a guy that he wants to go back to the SEC. He wants to go to the NFL. Like when he has the opportunity, he's going to jump. But it would be in his best interest, in my opinion, for him to stay there and build that, because I think he is a good coach. He does know what he's doing. We know this, and he would be good for Illinois, but I don't think that happens. All right. Minnesota, last game of the season. It's the axe game. Bo Dragon keeps telling me that he wants me to put my axe up, then I should have my axe up. No, it goes up when we win. And I think, Ryan, you also do this when we win, right?
The trophy goes up when you win. I think I boxed mine away because I moved it hasn't even come out of the box. Like, we got to win for the axe to make an appearance. It's as simple as that. So do we win, Ryan? Oh man, I hate this game because I don't know. Sometimes I think it's beneficial to look at it from the other side. What would some of these teams say about us, right? Like when I picked Washington, for example, to win, there were a couple of people in the chat. I'm kind of like just looking. They're like so pessimistic. Well, Washington's probably like, that team didn't go to the bowl last year. Replace their OC, place new quarterback. Fickle might be on the hot seat. The defense was last in the country, and they once again went to the portal to fix it. If you're a Minnesota fan, PJ's had our number for a few years. This one's at home. They should be able to run the ball. They have a pretty dynamic running game. They like kind of what they have at quarterback. They weren't good last year. They're under 4 yards a carry a game per game. Taylor's pretty good, man. They have a good running back.
But their offensive line stunk last year. That's why he wasn't good.
Yeah, I think a lot of teams would take Darius Taylor, though. I mean,
won't argue that he's going to be an NFL back.
I think my point is, though, if you're an opposing fan, you can find a lot of holes to poke in Wisconsin right now and have a reason to see why they maybe not be that scared of the Badgers. So I think they're going to get this win. I don't know if I'm basing that on a lot of copium and hope, though, man.
So you're officially picking a W here.
I'm picking a W because I'll just be straight up dead ass honest with you guys. I'm never going to pick a loss against Minnesota. I could be starting a quarterback and I'm going to pick a win. Like, I'm never going to pick a loss against Minnesota. I do think they have to replace some spots in the offensive line. They weren't great there. But dude, this is a tough game. Fleck has turned this into a real rivalry, whether we want to admit it or not. And going to Minnesota is not going to be easy this year.
Justin, are you going to give us a W and have your record be 8-4?
Yeah, it's going to be a W, and I'll explain why. Number one, this is a team that hasn't settled on a left tackle yet, heading into the now game prep part of the offseason for them. They have a redshirt freshman quarterback who has like 5 snaps on his experience. They have 2 really good interior defensive linemen. But behind that, not a lot. And their own writers have said that they're worried that if anything happens to Eastern and Anthony on that team, that they're going to be in trouble. And what that tells me is Wisconsin, despite the fact that we have not looked good the last couple seasons, I think we're far deeper in the trenches than what they are. We don't have a position right now that we're looking at and saying, oh my God, we don't even know anyone's starter quality at this point. We have everything basically settled. We just wish we had more depth. And I think we substantially are in a better place at the quarterback position where you just have experience in somebody who's been in tight games before and played versus somebody who you really don't know what he's going to do if he gets rattled out there.
I think, Ryan, I think you said it best. I think that's very difficult. Any Minnesota fan watching this or doing their own show like this it's an automatic W for them.
Oh yeah.
And just like it's an automatic
W. It's not
W
based on anything. I've seen 10-2 for some of their fans.
I think that if I'm not trying to disagree, I am disagreeing. I think Minnesota's better than you think they are. That's just my opinion. Now, Do I think we're going to win? Hell yeah, I think we're going to win because Luke Fickell needs this because this team is better than they think we are, for sure, in my opinion. But they're not as bad as some Badger fans think they are. That's where I'm at on it. I think we are a better team than them.
So,
but I don't think that I understand why Minnesota fans are looking at this game and us coming there after they beat the shit out of us. Honestly, like let's be honest about it. They creamed us last year.
Our team quit last year at the end. Like it did.
It's the Minnesota game though. I mean,
yeah, but if your team gave up, like I don't think it matters who's on the field against them. After Iowa happened, they never recovered. Actually, you could say after the Oregon game, losing a game where they played their butts off and still lost, the team just kind of caved and it just fell apart against Iowa. What I will say is, despite having a significantly weaker schedule, they are expected to only win one more game than us. I think that's telling.
I think there's a chance at this point in the season we're beaten up too, though.
That's
like,
fair.
I think going through that
I think that's very fair.
We may not so I think teams sometimes are 9-3, but they're really 7-5 teams. And I think sometimes teams are 5-7 and they're really 7-5 teams. I think there is a chance you lose a couple guys playing through that stretch on the offensive line or something else. And listen, depth on the team matters, right? And you have to factor that in. I think we're pretty shallow in some spots too. Again, beating Minnesota's, you need it. You need it this year. We have to beat Minnesota this year. Period. Dead. Full stop. No excuses. At the end of the year, if we lose because we lost a couple guys in injury, not an excuse. You have to beat Minnesota. Period. But man, that's a tough game. I think that's a really tough game at the end of the year at Minnesota. I really do. And that might be a team, both teams might be in a spot where they're fighting for bowl positioning, where they might maybe fighting for bowl eligibility. I think that game's going to mean a ton for both spots. Going there, it's tough, man. I just think it's tough. But I do think we beat them close game. Let's get the axe.
Yeah, look, I think that I think that this is one of those games that will define, like, that begins to kind of, again, define Fickell and when can he win those big games? Can he outcoach the other coach? And, we all feel a certain way about PJ Fleck, and we all think we've got the better coach. So go do it. Like go do that. Show us that you're the better coach. Show this program that you're here and win that Iowa game, win that Minnesota game, and go from there. There you have it. Ryan and I, once again, same record, and Justin, once again, a tick up.
So I'm going to clarify on here because I feel like people are going to be like, I'm sunshine pumping. There are 3 or 4 games on this that easily are coin flip games that we could lose. Like if we're talking percentages, it might be like a 52-48 that I look at it and I'm like, yeah, I think we might be slightly better than them. And that might be the difference in why I would call it a W. Washington, Indiana, and Illinois, I think, are all in play. Same with Iowa as games that we can lose. Like, I have no doubt about it. I think we get it done against Minnesota. Other than Maryland, I think they're the next weakest team. And I think compared to those others, it's not particularly close.
Yeah.
So those are the ones that I probably feel strongest about getting would be, Minnesota, Maryland, and the 2 gimmies.
Well, there you have it. 7-5 for me, 7-5 for Ryan, 8-4. And let me tell you something, that 7-5 ain't a bad record. This is the toughest schedule in the country. Let's be clear about that. So there's an element of that. But if that happens, that would be good stuff. Let's quickly kind of go through, guys, some predictions outside of just our record. Big Ten finishing position, Ryan. Out of the 18 teams, where do you think we fall? I mean, so according to your record there, you've got to say, what was your Big Ten record? I guess that's a
good question.
I don't even know. 9 games.
I got a 7-5.
You got us 5-4 in conference.
Okay. So I think last year there were 5 teams that were in the Big Ten that were either 5-4 or 4-5. I think we're right in that middle pack. And then it comes down to tiebreakers. It comes down to we're somewhere in the 7 to 11 range of the Big Ten, I think, which is where 5-4 I think gets you. So it's fine. It's not a great year because I do want to really quickly say, I hear your point, and I actually agree, Rajiv. 7-5, it's not an unsuccessful year given the schedule. That's also still a bit of a disappointing year for a Wisconsin Badgers fan. Schedule be damned. I hear it, but it's also a little downtrodden.
Yeah, but I mean that's sadly just where we are right now. After not having a bowl game against that, if you give me Nebraska schedule, if you give me Illinois schedule, if you give me Indiana schedule from last year, we're winning 10 games. We would all be picking that. but you do have to pick against what you've got here too, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Justin, you have a 6-3, Justin. So that's going to put us in the upper echelon here of the
That
conference.
would probably put us I would guess 6 or 7, somewhere in that range.
Yeah. Listen, 8-4 could be a potentially playoff discussion.
Not with the wins that I'm giving them.
Well, that's true. I mean, yeah, you're gonna have to win one of those really, really big ones, though. Who wins the Big Ten championship, Justin? Who's crowned Big Ten champion? You got obviously the contenders: Ohio State, Oregon, Penn State. Who are you? Where are you taking?
I just don't think it's gonna be Penn State. Like, I know people are really high on them. I'm gonna say Oregon. I don't think I don't like either. Like all three of those teams have flaws to me. So I think it's gonna be kind of who gets hot on the right date. Because I don't think the Big Ten could very well win the national championship yet again. And I still would look at it and be like, is this an indictment of the rest of the college football, or is it just every team out there is really kind of flawed this year? Because I don't know if there's anybody I look at and I say, I mean, Texas probably is the best shot looking into it right now. If Arch Manning is good, that team should probably win it this year.
Ryan, Big Ten champ?
I think it's Ohio State. I think I find it funny. So many people talking about Penn State and look what they brought back. I'm like, yeah, but Aller was there last year. Those running backs were there last year. Colton Lickey was there last year. They had all those pieces last year. Aller's not going to get dramatically better. He is who he is. All these pieces you had last year that fell short, that couldn't move the ball against Ohio State, they're back. It's not. It's almost like at some point you got to trust what people show you. You got to trust who they are. James Franklin and Drew Aller have kind of shown you who they are.
Go ahead. I don't think Aller's a playmaker. Like, I don't think he's a guy that goes out and wins you a game. I think he's a guy who's a good college quarterback who lacks the ability to up his game and take over.
Yeah, I think they're just lacking in that sense. I trust Ryan Day more, and I don't trust James Franklin. By the way, Penn State has to go to Columbus, guys. They're not going to beat Ohio State in Columbus. Schedules freaking matter. They're not going to win in Columbus against Ohio State, which means they're going to be down 2 games. And if you look at Ohio State's Big Ten schedule, maybe they'll lose 1 in there. I don't think they're going to lose 2. So Penn State's not going to be in it. I think it's Ohio State versus Oregon. I think Oregon actually goes to Penn State and beats Penn State too, quite frankly. And I think Ohio State beats Oregon for the conference championship.
I agree. Ohio State is my Big Ten champion. Hate to say it, but they're the best team. They've reloaded. Man alive, did they reload on the defensive side of the ball. They've got their defensive front 7 is uncanny good. And they have the best receiver, arguably. You could say Ryan Williams, but pretty much top 2 wide receiver and number 1 defensive player in Caleb Downs on the other side of the ball. Jeremiah Smith offensively, Caleb Downs defensively. That team is fantastic. They're winning the Big Ten.
Bill Woj with a good comment here, though. Knowles is a big change, though. And what I will say regarding that is no one's going to have more insight into how to defend Ryan Day than him. I realize they've changed offensive coordinators, but I think we'd all agree the person running the offense there is Ryan Day. The guy that's coaching it is effectively the person he's putting in charge to basically run that aspect of it. But Day has always been the guy. I believe he's the play caller. I believe he's the guy who's basically running the ship on the offensive side. So I don't know what difference that makes. Knowles for Penn State is probably a big deal in terms of insight and understanding what they're trying to accomplish, having sat in those meetings.
Ryan, national champion at the end of the year. Who's gonna take it all this season?
I hate to be super chalky, but Justin mentioned, I think it is Texas. I think that is the most loaded team top to bottom. I think they beat Ohio State week 1. I think they just kind of run through the season. I think it's Texas. They're loaded. Give me Texas.
So I'm seeing a lot of people in the chat say Clemson. I can see where you're getting at there. I do question whether they start to coast, given that they're not going to be overly tested in the ACC, and that bites them in the playoff. I do think it's a very talented team, but I also don't think they're going to have to be pushed very often during the season once they get past the first couple weeks.
I think that you're both wrong, and the Big Ten will continue its run of winning national championships. And I think Ohio State wins again. I wanted to almost say Oregon, but Oregon just always finds a way to not get it done when it matters.
You're buying sand stock then.
Yeah, I mean, what I'm buying is every other player on that team, and Sayin is above average because all their quarterbacks are above average. Like if they had the guy whoever that played that got Michigan last year, they would not win. But they don't. Sayin is better than that. Like they've got depth at quarterback too. They've got so many weapons. I think Ohio State wins it again.
Well, what I'll say there is, if he's Kyle McCord this year, that's not going to get it done.
But he could be Will Howard, right? And Will
Howard is what he needs to be. Like he's got to be that level of quarterback.
I think he will be close enough to that to be able to get it done. Look, and if Oregon could win it, I think Texas has a chance. I mean, if Texas wins, that's fine. And Arch Manning can come to Indianapolis, please. We'll tank for Arch Manning. That's fine. We could use another Manning.
Will you guys actually pick him, or will you pick somebody?
I mean, if he's in the draft, I'm sure he will. Brian Erdman, I think Manning is overrated just because of his name. To be fair, I have not really watched a lot of Arch Manning. I'm very, very excited to watch him this season because, like, no one has really seen a ton of him, obviously. But I don't know if he's really going to be this good or not. I hope he is because I think he could have a great NFL career if he is.
I think really quick on Manning, there's an element of sometimes you just trust the company. Like, for Manning, it's the Manning company, but like Google, whatever. I don't know, whatever company you love, like when the Pop-Tarts come out with a new brand, I'm going to eat it and it's probably going to be really good. Actually, not only like cinnamon brown sugar. That's a terrible example. But my point is, here's one. Fat Cats Brewery in Connecticut. I love everything they do. If they make a new beer, I just trust it's going to be really good. I just trust that a Manning at quarterback is going to be really good. And this is supposed to be the athletic version of the cerebral Manning group. Like he could be insanely good.
Yeah, I agree.
What I'll say is, and I agree with that to an extent, is he's more hype than proven ability at this point. At the college level. So he could be really good this year. He could stink. And when I start seeing people touting him as a Heisman guy, it's like, let's let him play 3 games here first where he goes out there and lights it up. Let's sit back and not hand guys trophies before they've done anything.
Which is why I don't think they're necessarily the pick to win the national title. Now, you could argue for Sayin. I understand that Sayin is also a new commodity there, but I think Ohio State's got better pieces around. Like by the way, must-see TV, Texas, Ohio State next weekend. Let's go. Hint, it's going to be in the Rajiv picks of the week next week.
What's the other one? The other big game, LSU and is it Clemson?
Remember. I had it up earlier.
There's another one. There's another huge game. So yeah, this a good weekend for football.
It's going to be good. College football's back. That's what's most important. All right, let's hit some final Badger predictions here. Justin, season MVP. Who is our season MVP?
I'm going to go ahead and say it's going to be Dylan Jones. I think if Wisconsin's going to have the record that I predicted, he's going to have to be probably a 1,200-yard back this year. He's going to have to show out. He's going to have to look like a future pro.
If Wisconsin has the record that you're predicting, I'm going to send you a lot of alcohol, and it's going to be a party time. Ryan, what do you think? Season MVP?
I think we're going with the spirit of what the MVP is most valuable. I think it's got to be Billy Edwards. I think the quarterback just has to be the most valuable piece. I'm not saying he's the best player because I think Dylan Jones has a different tier of talent. I think Mason Reiger is probably at a different tier of talent, but most valuable piece, it's got to be Billy Edwards because we saw the quarterback battle. I don't think it's that close if Danny O'Neal or Hunter Simmons had to come in. So to me, it's Billy Edwards, and it's probably pretty easily Billy.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. It's Billy Edwards for me. Ryan, highest Badger that's going to be drafted in April of 2026.
Dude, this one was tough for me. I'm going to say it's Reiger. I worry about him staying healthy. I think if you look at what the NFL puts a premium on, it's defensive ends. It's people who can hit the quarterback. If you don't have a quarterback, it's who can protect him and who can hit him. To me, that's Reiger. I think he's the highest guy. But that injury track record is going to be real. Even if he has a real season this year, teams are still going to wonder about it. So my dark horse is actually, I'm going to go with Austin Brown. I think a full year of Austin Brown with his physical skill set could really blow some people away. I think he's going to put good tape up, and I think he's the type that would do really well at the combine. So give me Reiger. I think that's the first thing that popped in my head if he stays healthy. If not, my dark horse is Austin Brown.
Justin?
I think the offensive line is going to look far better in the new scheme, and I think it's going to be Broner. I actually think he's going to be like a 3rd-round pick at guard.
So you mentioned, Ryan, about what the NFL puts a premium on, and the other thing they put a premium on is good cornerback play. I wanted to pick Rico Hallman, but to me the answer is clear, and it's Joe Brunner as well. I think Brunner is. I listed him. Ryan, you did a show, you ranking the top 10 players on the team. And I had Brunner as my number two player on the team, next to Hallman, actually. But I think Brunner's really good. I think we're going to see what he can do in his own blocking scheme this year. The NFL is going to want to look at that, and I think he's going to really shine. That's going to be his year.
So I think the only thing that might hold him back a little bit is the NFL doesn't value guards quite as much.
Which is why I think that the ceiling is probably the third. If that.
If Riger has a good year, it will be Riger because he can hit the quarterback. That's just where the NFL is.
What's a good year for him? Like what gets him high enough? Like 7-8 sacks?
I think if he gets 7 or 8 sacks and he passes the medicals, again, I'm not a doctor. I don't know what the medicals are actually going to show. But if he shows he's healthy, the NFL is just so desperate for pass rushers that I think they would take him before a really, really good guard. And we all like Brunner. But I just think because of where the NFL drafts, all pass rushers get pushed up a round or two.
Yeah, I think that's a good true point. Honestly, I hadn't really thought about Riger. I originally wrote down Hallman and Brunner, but Riger's a really good shout. I mean, you're right. Like they're going to put a premium on that for sure. And then, listen, if Hallman has another 5 or 6 pick season, who knows, right? He could definitely be up there. But yeah, I agree. Smo agrees. Riger all day makes sense. Yeah, I mean that's definitely a good shout there. Okay, Justin, assistant coach of the year. Who is going to be the best assistant coach when we're sitting here in November?
I think it's going to be Grimes. I think the offense is going to look improved this year. It's going to look coherent, and I think we're going to feel a lot better about it moving forward and finally have something to sell in recruiting where kids can look at it and be like, I understand what my role is going to be in this offense, and that's going to be massive for this team going forward.
Ryan?
A lot. And right. I mean, Grimes is a great take, Justin. So I'm not going to go with that one. I think there's a ton of great options here. I vacillated between 3 or 4. I actually am going to go with Paul Haynes because I think you look at a cornerback room that was decimated by offseason departures. We talked about it. At one point we were like, do we have anybody? We did shows on it because we weren't sure what Rico was going to do. We still really know with the Nizier thing. I think what you've seen is growth from the young guys in one of the spots that we thought was maybe the shallow spot on the team. You saw Emilio take a step up. The young guys look really good. Well, that's Paul Haynes, right? That's Paul Haynes coaching them, getting in the right spot. You look at the offenses we have to play and recruiting. I'm going to give it to Paul Haynes, who I don't know if gets enough credit at times. I mean, Emilio Agard raves about him. The younger guys I've talked to have raved about him. I think he's a really important part of that defensive staff.
That's a great shout. I think I'm going to go a position that I'm constantly worried about, a position that we constantly talk about, and it's EJ Whitlow, because I feel like it's time to see what a Tressel defense can do with size up front. Whitlow has done a great job in recruiting and getting through guys through the portal. And I think we're hopefully going to be pleasantly surprised at the output of this unit this season. And therefore I'm going to give it to Whitlow. Justin, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was going to say with regards to Haynes, I just think you look at where we're headed with this. He is a really positive, like we saw how all those guys left last year. And I think there are a lot of people that question whether he was the right guy there. And hearing that these young guys that are still in the room are very high on him, I think is telling, because I think that a lot of people were worried about him.
All right, guys, last question of the night. Start with you, Ryan. What do you need to see for us to have what are you going to call a successful season?
I feel like we've had so many iterations of this question, this answer over the offseason, right? Yep. To sum it all up into one, I need to see progress. Just is really just that simple. I need to see offensive progress to the point where we go into next year and we think what Coach Grimes did is strong and we can build on it. And I need to see defensive process in terms of we go into next year and we think Tressel can put the right pieces in place and get pressure on the quarterback. We need to see toughness progress in games that are tough, that we don't quit, that we don't give up a bunch on the ground. So in a lot of different areas, I just want to see progress. Did we push the ball forward this offseason? And did we do it to a point where we can then build on that progress going into next year? That's what I need to see.
Follow-up question to you, Ryan. If you see, there is a path that you can see some of those things, and you can also see us win 5 games. Can you marry those two together? If we have a 5-7 record, but is there any path for that to where you can see some progress and the record still is bad?
I'm going to be really honest on this one. I'm going to say no. I don't think you can put back-to-back 5-win seasons together, because we can lose the 4 toughies and I can live with it. I can sleep at night. We can lose the 4 toughies in a coin flip. We can lose the 4 toughies in 2 coin flips. You can't lose the 4 toughies and then almost all your 50-50 games and tell me that progress has been made.
Good point. Justin, what do you need to see to have a successful season?
Yeah, I think we need to see the trenches look a lot better than they did last year. I think we need to see competent quarterback play, and I think we need to see the run game look like it used to. I think we will see that. I'm very high on the run game this year. I think we're going to see an improved offensive system, which I think is going to help the team across the board. We've already talked about, in multiple shows now that we clearly have more depth than we had last year. It's not shocking. What we're trying to find out here is how high is the ceiling in talent. I don't think you have multiple options with what you can do with this team, that if somebody's not productive, you can swap them out and say, we're going another way. And you can look for the guys who are going to rise. And I think that we didn't have that option last year, which is something that really hurt us. That to me is a major factor. I think it can't be understated how all 3 of the guys that I think we brought in the quarterback room are all plus leaders. I think every single one of them has the type of attitude and swagger that you want at that position. And I think what we saw from Billy coming in here from a leadership standpoint is something this program's missed since probably Cone. We haven't had somebody who had that level of fire in them at quarterback since then.
I agree with you on that.
So I think he's going to be a massive push because I think you have to have that in that position.
I agree. For me, very similar to what Ryan said, it's progression. It's the thing I've been saying all year. We need to see advancement. We need to see competence. We need to beat Minnesota. Like when I think about success, it has the axe behind me, period. Like you cannot have a successful season if you don't beat Minnesota. I don't care what your record is. If you don't beat Minnesota, this is not a successful season. That's really important to me. I'm really tired of hearing Minnesota fans talk about that game and but there's got to be advancement. We've got to actually show that we can compete with the big boys because we used to be one of those guys. Let's compete and let's beat up on some bad teams. All right. We're going to play 2 of them to start. We're going to play 3 of them actually the first 4 weeks, beat up on them. We need to do that. Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, I was going to say my last comment here is simply, I think people need to understand how bad things were for some of what we saw last year, that there's not a lot that you need to jump in order to be in a much better spot to win games this year than you were last year. You look at the defense, if we're even average from a disruption standpoint this year, you probably win 2 more games off that alone. Like we were awful on that side of the football in terms of basically putting other teams in precarious positions. And that should be better no matter what. Like I think Riger alone will be a major factor in that. But you have multiple young guys that I think we feel really good about. Fearbury, Cheeks looks far more improved this year. Clayton obviously is going to be a handful by end of the season. I'll be shocked if he's not finding ways in on 3rd and long.
Well, it's game week, boys. We've waited a long time, 268 days actually to today since we last lost that horrible game against Minnesota. Ryan, thanks for joining us. Final thoughts on anything you want to touch on?
No, I think my final thoughts is it's been a long off season. I want to say, I really appreciate both of you guys just for everything we do on this channel, like Badgers community, but just as people. So I appreciate both you guys, the people in the chat that are on both channels. Appreciate all you guys. Thanks for being here in the off season. I will be at the game Thursday. So let me throw this thought out here. This will be my kid's first game in Camp Randall, both of them, because we've lived in Connecticut and it's just been it's hard to get back. If you lose this game where I'm trying to hook my kids into Badger fandom, if the Badgers drop this game,
they're not dropping.
I'm just saying, I'm going to put out, I will never forgive them because this is my chance to hook my kids into being Badger fans. So it needs to be a fun game, a win, a dominant effort. There's going to be a light show. This should be a perfect introduction to Camp Randall for an impressionable 11-year-old son.
And listen, bud, if you will have the ultimate curse if we lose this game because there's some bad track records here. Justin, final thoughts.
So what I'll say on that, just to make Ryan feel better, listen, if you watch the media availability for the Miami of Ohio coach, he seems fairly resigned to the fact that this game is going to be a loss, and he just wants to see his team show up and try. So I think you're going to be in a good spot there when it seems like the coach isn't overly confident about heading into this one. Yeah, I want to see the offense look competent. I want to see them look physical and just flat out dominant in the trenches, which I think this is a team you should dominate. And I want to see them come out with some fire. Like these first couple of games give you an opportunity to build some confidence for this team that gives them the ability to go into a game like Alabama and feel like they belong on the field. And I think that's what you need to see in these two games.
I'll just end the show by saying again, thanks to, like as Ryan said, thank you to everyone for listening to us through the off season, which was fantastic. It's been a long one, and we desperately are excited to see this. 268 days is done and gone, and I am so ready to talk Badger football again. I texted Ryan a few days ago, and I was like, I'm just excited to do reaction shows again. I'm excited to actually have football to talk about. And again, we did our 150th Bucky Report last week. This is 151. So thank you so much to Ryan more than anybody, and to all the people out there who support us and who make this super fun. As we go into another season, thank you to everyone, because we love this. We're going to keep doing it, and it's so much fun. With that, guys, let's get a win in week 1. And as always, on Wisconsin.
On Wisconsin.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoy the show, subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Bucky Report or The Bucky Report Podcast from wherever you get your content. Until next time, on Wisconsin.